or would the router change
Recording
things?
is on.
So yeah, I think there's two kind of significantly different states of DXSwap, right? There's going to be pre-aggregation when there's like going to be a limited number of tokens effectively that you can trade due to limited liquidity, right? So that's going to be totally different than when aggregation is added and you can basically trade everything that Uniswap has plus what DXSwap has. So yeah, I mean, I think for Zet, when you're thinking about the designs, there's those kind of like two, those are going to be different, I think, like kind of in terms of what's available.
And it will be like a very black and white. It won't be like a transition period. It will be like there's pre-aggregation where you can very few pairs, and then it's like all of the pairs essentially.
Yeah. Like once aggregation is added, like everything that Uniswap has will be available, right? Like so, it'll be a big step change.
I would recommend to like think about designs only when we know how that is done technically and when the code is there. I think then we can focus on aggregation designs. But for now,
with aggregation, like if you have the pool on DXSwap and Uniswap and it's bigger on Uniswap, like it doesn't use both pools. How does it know which pool to use?
Yeah, that's something we have to figure out. I think it would just use the bigger pool.
Then that just takes business away from DXSwap.
But we have to look at that because I mean I think that's how we implement the aggregator. Like that's like we could choose to do it either way. That's not. This isn't. I mean, this is maybe what Geronimo was saying. Like this isn't done yet, right? Like this is more like a concept in a to-do item on the thing, right? Like the idea.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of clear that it can be done, but exactly how it's going to be done is not implemented yet. But I do think there's like those are two different kind of significantly different experiences for the user.
I think there's also an interesting idea floating around, which is basically merging the balancer protocol with DXSwap protocol and make it so that the user will actually don't think about two different protocols, but rather it will be just one trading interface where users can provide liquidity for either two tokens or like several tokens, and we don't need to like explain them that it's actually like two different protocols.
But I would say that step is significantly further out than that's even more. Yeah.
I mean we don't know that, right? Like technically.
No, I do know that that is going to be much further out than Uniswap integration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I agree. That's an idea that's floating around, right? Like, but I'm just saying, like,
right.
In terms of time frames here, like, I think, Uniswap aggregation could be a quick follow-on feature after it launches, right? Like maybe like weeks after the initial launch. Whereas I think integrating something like Balancer is going to take probably months of work to like really understand how that would work and do it. But
yeah, and that's probably in the same conversation then as like Uniswap v3 or any other advances in like AMMs in the meantime. I guess I do think the router is important for, or just like as part of like how it fits into the strategy. Knowing that we can do it, I think allows us to kind of build around that, because it's like that's not a viable option in like the medium term. Then I think we need to think about other strategies to get liquidity in a bunch of different pairs. Because if we only have like these 6 pairs or 10 pairs of that's going to be not a great trading experience. And I think we would have to go out of our way to try to have additional pairs. But if we have the router, then like we don't, or the aggregator, then we don't really need to worry about trying to focus on other pairs. We can actually just focus specifically on the ones where we think like DXSwap pools will compete.
Yeah, I agree. I also see us work on a lot of like user experience stuff. Meanwhile, we work on the technical stuff. Like I can work really fast on just features together with the what's his name? Fonzie, Lucci.
Okay.
What's his real name? The Italian developer.
Federico, yeah.
Federico, sorry. Yeah, so
Lucy.
Uzi Foss.
But yeah, this is why I think we can win by having a really good experience, like just short term, and then we do all the long term shit. Meanwhile,
Yeah, I mean, with an aggregator, like that's a winning product right now, right? You could make the case that that's offering a better experience than Uniswap because you're getting all the Uniswap pools plus whatever pools DXSwap has better pricing on.
I mean, if you check the let's say Doodoo, I don't think last time I checked the volume, I don't think that many people use this Doodoo.
Dodo.
Doodoo. Yeah, sorry, but
I don't know. I don't know if there's a good clear name on that. I do think Dodo would make more sense, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Doodoo.
Yeah.
Both are questionable for different reasons.
So DXSwap being an aggregator, then that looks a lot more like 1inch, right?
Yes, but
No.
I mean, it basically fixes I go to 1inch, check the price, which is basically probably Uniswap, and then they go to Uniswap and actually do the trade. But on DXSwap, you go to DXSwap, and you get the best price because it is connected to the Uniswap, and then you stay there and actually do the trade because it is the cheapest.
Probably and 1inch can't change it.
A little bit of exactly.
Because that's their business model. They can't change their fees and stuff. That's how they make money, and we can, because that's not our business model.
And Chris, do you actually you don't think that we can actually win a few pools by doing the whole rewards program?
No, I do. I think that's I think that is expensive when you think about it because you are paying that out, and that's what I'm saying is the nice thing about the router experience is if you have that, it's just a lot cheaper to get to the end state of a nice trader experience where they can trade up a whole bunch of things, because otherwise without that we do have to do the DXD rewards, and I think we should do that. I think that's part of the plan, but I just prefer not to have it as big. Yeah, I mean, I think that we should, the way I'm thinking of it is basically the same kind of pairs that we've been talking about the whole time, the 10 or so loop ring, Gnosis, DAOstat, Gen, and those, but not random pairs. Still pretty focused.
Yeah, I still think that this is the last gun, and we should use it only when we realize, okay, we actually need to pull out the guns now. I think we have Zed already said, we have a lot of other things to do, and I think we can already prepare to actually create the biggest guns we have, which is making sure that we have the whole migration process are ready, right? The migration should be it's similar as V2 to V1 migration happened. So it's you have balancer stuff. Do you want to earn rewards? Migrate now with one button. So it's we should prepare the product as okay, it's fucking easy to migrate.
And Google did with Chrome. When you went to google.com, then you got a message, oh, you're using Firefox or using Internet Explorer? Change to Chrome and you will get this experience. And they converted a lot of people with that.
And with that, then we can shoot the rewards program, and then. But what is important is that we need to have the whole DXD governance ready, which is oh, I don't need to sell the DXD because they actually give you true governance rights, right? So it's I think we have a huge task list which we need to deliver, so we can actually have the biggest gun ever. And that's, yeah, and I think that will be successful, but we need to deliver.
I think actually the uni drop thing was healthy for us because people are actually talking about governance, and it's not fair to own 1% of something to do a proposal or whatever they have. I think it's healthy because I've seen a lot of discussions and people think that governance will be some kind of new hype because whales are interested in actually not only trading and making money. Actually, they are interested in products and changing stuff and making stuff better. So I think if we bring out our big guns and talk about governance, and this could be a really good way for getting these big whales to actually be involved in the governance of DXDAO.
100%. Like even Hazu and I think some other big VC guy actually like, oh yeah, it makes sense to dilute MKR holders who are not voting, and it's like, yeah, we already know that since a few months, and we are like already progressing as a DXDAO who's like, if you not contribute, you will be diluted, and like I guess they're just waking up a little bit. I still think like this liquid token governance will keep them busy for a while until they like made actually like a lot of money out of this whole shit. But then the real game actually happens with like true governance, and I think we are like already progressing so relaxed, like so chilled our way, and I think we should keep being chilled and just continue our shit.
I agree.
Okay. If we have time, I'd love to continue this later. We have two guests on the call. We have Chris S. from Badger DAO, who would just like to just reach out and just start an initial conversation with us. And we have Jordan from DORG looking to introduce Web3 API to us. So first, I'd like to have Chris take the floor. If you're there, Chris. Hello.
Hey guys.
Hey Chris.
Oh,
What's going on?
hey Chris.
Awesome stuff you guys are working on. I love listening to this type of stuff. Gets me all fired up for the future of our space. Just to give you guys a brief overview of Badger, I think there could be some cool collaboration points between our groups, but nonetheless, really what we're building is we're trying to build an ecosystem DAO where all the best projects and developers and really the best builders in the space come together with shared ownership to create cool products and infrastructure. And that product and infrastructure focus is specifically on Bitcoin and DeFi. So really building better bridges once it's in different networks, better tools, better products, more products. I just think today, we have such limited products in the market. If it's just Curve for liquidity or just REM BTC or NWBTC for wrapping, there's just so many more things we can do. Better vault strategies and hedging and so forth and so on. So nonetheless, we're committed to building those products, and the way that we're doing it is we want as many of the community members involved, and we're trying to really change how products are created. So every product and every idea is something that's ideated within the community, pitched to the community, voted on, and then once approved, our internal operations team will work with the community members that are proposing the products and bring it to life. And then anybody that participated in it would have a percentage share in any value or revenue or fees or anything that's created from it. So we anticipate a lot of great projects in this space to get involved. We have a few that we're going to be announcing shortly. And what we're doing prior to launch, which is in a few weeks, is we're going to be launching with two products. One that's similar to that of a Wi-Fi vault. We call it SET. And we're going to have different strategies for BTC LP tokens. So the Uniswap WBTCE. We're going to take a compounding strategy there, where you can deposit those LP tokens, and then we'll systematically sell the Uniswap, put it back into the pool to compound the returns, and then similar with the Curve REM BTC and Curve SBTC LP tokens. So we're going to go to market with that product, and our second product that we've built is elastic supply cryptocurrency, but pegged to the price of Bitcoin and completely owned by the community and DAO. So I can get into some more details around like how we're attempting to do a fair launch and some of these other things, but nonetheless, I just wanted to share what we were up to and love for you guys to be part of the community and collaborate on building some cool products. And maybe our team can help with some of the products you're developing, maybe from the BTC standpoint. So yeah, that's about it, guys.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, I'd just say really interested in kind of the BTC angle. I don't think there's obviously I think it's a big market growth in a lot of areas. WBTC is obviously kind of gone through the roof here in the last couple months. I imagine we would not be comfortable with that product, and so I think we're interested in kind of. But I think Bitcoin is clearly a important part of whatever decentralized future is coming. So I think when we talk about like DX, some of these products, we don't really have any Bitcoin angle at all, or some Bitcoin synthetics. So I would definitely be interested in how we can tap into that market, and maybe that's a way to cooperate with you guys.
Yeah, we have some ideas around how to create better, more trustless products. I don't think it's perfect, our ideas obviously, but it's going to be community driven regardless. But we'd love to have a community-owned bridge with 50+ community members voted in that are managing Bitcoin multi-sigs, and then having that be the bridge into our products, into other people's products, and having like the Badger BTC, which in turn is owned by everyone. Like if we have like 10 amazing projects and a bunch of developers that are part of the community and help build it, everyone's going to share in those withdrawal deposit fees and everything that can come from it, right? So yeah, I agree. We're also not that comfortable with the products in the market, but that BTC, like I'm a long-term Bitcoin guy, and we just need it, right? Like it's undoubtable. So
Word.
Mm-hmm.
Building bridges between blockchains. So it's good that we have DAOs get to know each other and like know what each DAOs are up to. And I think Chris is up to some really interesting stuff, and it's definitely going to capture like a very, very unique and specific audience, which is dope.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate you guys letting me share.
All right, no worries. Thanks a lot for coming on.
No problem.
All right, so Jordan, if you're there, we'd love for you to present Web3 API to the DXDAO. Some great stuff.
Yeah, sure thing. Hi, everyone. My name's Jordan. I'm a developer, been working with DORG. And so I want to talk to you today about Web3 API because it's a project that I think will help the whole Web3 space, and particularly organizations like the DXDAO that are managing multiple different applications that are using one or more protocols. So first off, what is Web3 API? So there was a video sent around. I can also just show like a quick little 3-minute video. Would you all rather that, or would you rather me dictate it? The downside with me, speaking is that there's no visuals. So there is a feature in Jitsi where I can just play a quick YouTube video. So if you guys want to sit through a quick 3-minute YouTube video, we could do that. What do you guys think?
Video.
All right, doing it.
Doing it.
Web3 API is a developer toolchain that brings the ease of Web 2 to Web 3. It enables multi-platform and dynamic Web 3 applications. There's a problem going largely unnoticed in the Web 3 ecosystem, the integration problem. In Web 2, applications are lightweight, and all complex logic is executed within central servers. When a user tweets, the application simply makes a request to Twitter's API. But in Web 3, applications must handle complex logic themselves because central servers have been replaced with expensive smart contracts and other peer-to-peer networks. As a result, Web3 applications are bloated with libraries and SDKs to do the heavy lifting. This is the integration problem. For example, consider a DAO proposal, or a DEX aggregated token swap. In both of these instances, we have complex logic being executed within the application, making development slower and more error-prone. This integration strategy also means programming languages must be manually supported by rewriting the protocol's in-app logic. This slows Web3's rate of adoption and innovation by at least an order of magnitude when compared to Web 2. Web 3 needs to be simple. We can do better. Enter Web3 API, a standard that makes integrating Web 3 as easy as Web 2. Web 3 API allows any type of application to execute complex protocol logic on the fly. Simply send a query to the protocol's decentralized API endpoint, All protocol logic will be downloaded and run in the application thanks to the magic of WebAssembly. For example, we might send a swap GraphQL query to api.uniswap.eth. Web3 APIs can be used in any programming language. Simply add the Web3 API client to your project. Web3 API modules can also query each other, enabling composability and extendability like we've never seen before. Now, our Web3 applications can go back to being simple and multi-platform, just like we've come to expect from Web 2. We recently finished as finalists and won several prizes at HackFS. Since then, we have been...
All right, cool. I won't bore you with the rest of the video, but that's the essence of it. Why is this interesting to the DXDAO? It makes your lives easier as application developers. It also can allow you to fork APIs and modify them and do different cool things with them a lot easier. And we're also spinning up a DAO for Web3 APIs. So the point of this DAO is to be able to steward the standard and have funders come in and contribute funds, and then have builder organizations, like for instance, the DXDAO could be a funder or a builder, and then allow builder organizations to make proposals to build out different Web3 APIs, and then also the different tooling within the stack, let's say. So do you guys have any questions about the tech itself, relevance to DXDAO, or anything that I had just talked about? Cool. Well,
and more on like the builder part. Like
what's that, sorry?
What would I guess how would DXDAO function as like a builder partner for Web3 API? Like
yeah, for sure. So let's set, like in standing up this new standard for these application libraries, popular protocols will need to be recreated within WebAssembly using, let's say, like AssemblyScript or some other language that compiles to WASM. And so, there's lots of opportunity here to make proposals to the Web3 API DAO to be able to implement these. And then also, if, let's say, the DXDAO wanted Web3 APIs to be made for its protocols that it manages, it could make a proposal in this DAO to have that done. And then if the DXDAO, let's say, contributed funds to this DAO, it would have shareholdership, and so it could then, vote and help pass these proposals to get, let's say, a Mesa.eth Web3 API built or something like that. And the whole goal is to make Web3 protocols used in all types of applications, so that we can drastically increase the amount of software developers that are using Web3, because one, it's easier, and two, now they can use it in any type of an application, not just within the browser or node. And so, yeah, like it could mean lots more users on your various different protocols that the DXDAO stewards. Yeah. Ori, do you have anything to add from that? Was there anything that I had missed?
Nope.
Word. I do want to say that like we've been approached, I guess, a couple times around like investments in startups and stuff. And obviously like a lot of us are busy with like products and things like that. I just think it's a interesting idea to start thinking about that, like DAOs investing in other things, especially if
yeah, and sorry, I just wanted to let it be known that first and foremost, we're not interested in the DXDAO's investment. We're more so interested in whether or not this is interesting to the DXDAO. If this is tooling that you all think would make your lives easier. Yeah, and we're in the process of gathering lots of different integration partnerships, and so the DXDAO could be one of those. Yeah, that is basically signaling like this tooling makes their lives easier.
Yeah, Joe, I have a question. Like, is it tooling beneficial for product development, or is it beneficial for the DXDAO's infrastructure? Like,
yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. So it is for product development. This actually makes, first off, integrating several different protocols a lot easier, because the user flow around integrating them is no longer, see if they have a JavaScript SDK, add that, figure out how to use it, and then now all of a sudden, like your application is bloated. The user flow of integrating a Web3 API is now you just add the Web3 API client to your browser application, and then you query their endpoint. Let's say it's api.mesa.eth. And then the query may be, create new pool or, cast a vote on this. And so that's one benefit is that it's a lot easier to integrate. And it also doesn't bloat your applications as you scale up the number of protocols your app is interacting with. And then the second big benefit here is that it can actually allow your applications to be more dynamic. And so this takes a little bit of imagination, but thinking of DAOstack's platform, they wanted it to make it possible for people to develop third-party add-ons to their DAOs, so these different schemes. One of the big problems here, though, is that when you publish a scheme, the UI has to be rebuilt in order to facilitate that functionality of interacting with that scheme. With Web3 APIs, since these WASM modules are downloaded at runtime, the application can be built once and then made so that it can have dynamic UI based off these various different features. And so this would be interesting for DAO applications. This would be interesting for any other type of protocol, like for instance, a Wi-Fi strategy that you want some semblance of what's happening on chain from these various different published contracts being represented in the UI without having to constantly maintain the UI. So it really helps the horizontal scalability of ecosystems. But yeah, that use case takes a little bit more imagination to really grasp.
But this whole tooling depends on that those APIs are online, right? If someone is making sure that something is offline, then the dApp can't access the stuff anymore.
If by online you mean the API being present on IPFS, then yes. And so, but there is no server that is required for this. It's strictly just a package that is running within the client.
Wait, the API can be present on IPFS?
Right. Yeah, that's how it works. Is that these packages, all the Web3 API package is a GraphQL schema, which is your interface for the API, and then behind that is these WebAssembly modules. And these WebAssembly modules get downloaded and run inside the application. And so it's completely decentralized. There is no backing service of any type. Yeah, and then, just to reiterate, the reason why this is cool is because it's dynamic. You can now download this at runtime. And then the biggest point is that it's multi-platform. So you can use this in Python, Go, C#, JavaScript, whatever.
So you said the key advantage here is it opens up the development to more developers, basically. It makes development of dApps more accessible to developers who maybe aren't familiar with kind of the typical stack of Node and Web3, JS, etc.
Yeah, so I do think, yes, it does make developing dApps 10 times easier because now interacting with Web3 protocols like Uniswap or Mesa becomes the same as, let's say, querying a Web2 API. It's just simple GraphQL or REST queries. And then more benefits come around when you think of more advanced dApp development scenarios where, let's say, you have an aggregation dApp like Zurion or Zapper. Those dApps become really bloated as they interact with more and more protocols. This is not the case with Web3 API because, again, these logic modules are being downloaded at runtime. The same way, you can have Postman interact with any Web2 service, and Postman isn't a huge bloated application, right? It's just using the standard protocol. So the same rules apply here. And then the last big thing is dynamic applications, which I won't go through the effort of explaining again, but that's another big use case that we haven't really seen in Web3 that's totally possible.
So in the context of DXDAO, I'm trying to think
where
that would be most helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to add that I think that it's really helpful for if you are primarily focused on authoring next level protocols, like let's say, uh, let's say, for instance, you wanted to incentivize the usage of, let's say, a Uniswap fork that has some augmentation to it to make it better than Uniswap. In order to get people to use this today, you would have to say, hey, use our app. Like, go to this endpoint, use our application instead of uniswap.org. But with Web3 APIs, it's much simpler to be able to basically make a incentivized campaign around application developers integrating your protocol. So basically saying, "Hey, Zapper, add this to your application, and then we'll, pro rata reward you based on users of the Web3 API." That's like a future feature set that we're planning on really focusing on is this whole concept of application mining. Where protocol developers can remain protocol developers. They simply publish these great contracts and these great Web3 APIs, and then application developers just freely integrate them, and they're incentivized to do so. So that's a future use case. But yeah, it makes the integration of protocols much simpler.
Yeah, to also answer that question, I guess we don't know because we don't know what the DXDAO's focus is right now. But the whole idea, what we're trying to do right now is get like a couple key like launch partners together that think this would be useful to their ecosystem or their stack. And then we want to work really closely with those teams to like build your first Web3 API. Like, let's say in the next 5 months, we would like, as the alpha gets released at the end of this year, we would start like working with you to be like, okay, what's the low hanging fruit? What's the best way you can try this out first? And then like we would do the heavy lifting of like building it, but it would be for one of your services or one of your protocols or dApps. So yeah, this is just the start of figuring out if that interest is there, and if so, we'd want to like just have like a continuous thing going on like every other week, figuring out like updating you on what's been built and making sure that like seems useful, because we just don't want to build this like in a cave. We want to be building it with the projects that'll be using it. So yeah, we don't know, but we'd want to figure that out with you, is my answer.
Yeah, so the two thoughts, and I'm probably not understanding fully like what the advantages are, but like the two things that come to mind are like DXSwap is a Uniswap fork with governance of the fees and some other changes that DXDAO is currently working on and should be launching like relatively soon. So I suppose Web3 API could be useful in like incentivizing more development on top of the DXSwap protocol. I suppose we could think about maybe what that would mean for like Omen or Gnosis protocol as well. I'm not sure. I would think DXSwap maybe is the one that makes the most sense. And I think the other angle would be if DXDAO gets around to like some kind of a like Zapper or InstaDep, but for DXDAO products, like if we have kind of one dashboard for DXDAO products, then maybe this helps make that more efficient, right? Like more.
Yeah, and like our whole hypothesis is that this tooling is a 10x improvement on existing Web3 application development. And so if that is true, even just having the DXSwap's Web3 API present on our dashboard, which is called like the Web3 Hub, similar to like an API aggregator in the Web2 world, people will, find DXSwap and then integrate it into their apps more easily. So like that's another big benefit is not just for yourselves building apps, but getting your protocols inside of other apps.
Yeah, and that's why I think DXSwap, because I think that's more likely to be integrated into other protocols, like the ability to create DXSwap pools and trade on them. I suppose, I don't know. I mean, that's just me kind of guessing. I mean, Gnosis protocol or the conditional token framework may also make sense at some point, but I think you can already see that a lot of dApps have already interacted with Uniswap, so I think it sort of makes the most sense that DXSwap would be most likely to have integrations built on top of it.
I'm wondering about something like Rails also. Like, has anyone asked about this yet? Like, for an application that's using some kind of layer 2, is that possible with Web3 API? Like, how would that work?
Yeah, totally. So that's kind of like the big reason of why we're standing up the DAO and the fundraiser, so that we can spend time getting it to a really solid alpha. And in that alpha, all of these networks like Ethereum, like let's say ZK Sync or XDAI, will be treated just as another Web3 API module, and they can interact with each other. So for instance, the Rails Web3 API module may include, I'm not sure what layer 2 it's using, but let's say like ZK Sync or something like that. So it could just include that external Web3 API module, and then signing, would be happening, let's say with MetaMask or something like that. But yes, like you could definitely use other layer 2s. And so this is equally beneficial for app developers as it is for protocol developers, as it is for network developers, to be able to get, your things used in different protocols and different apps. So yeah, it's kind of like an operating system for peer-to-peer modules, like peer-to-peer client-side microservices, I guess you could say. But that's like, technical verbiage. But yeah.
Yeah, cool. That sounds awesome. Another thing that, and this, I feel like this stuff is all pretty abstract still at this point, but there's, at least in principle, feels like this is something that DXDAO is specifically in a position to want, because it's an organization that's building a bunch of stuff. And so I just kind of assume that it's going to want those things to interact with each other and maybe mix the products, maybe make some of the products available in some of the other products, like whether that's voting or swaps or anything else. And this would probably make that easier as well.
100%. Yep. And one of the big features with the Web3 Hub that we're adding is the ability to have these dashboards that are just generated UI from these Web3 queries. And so in this, you could create a DXDAO dashboard, which has its governance, its proposals, the DX swap, all of the open like Omen markets, like all of the DX protocols in one single interface. And you don't have to create this interface. It's being generated for you. All you have to do is just author the queries that interact with your various different protocols. So yeah, like it just goes to show, like, when you make things dynamic, when you make things based off of an easy to understand schema like GraphQL, you can now generate these really nice UIs that are great aggregations for lots of different things. So yes, like it very much makes aggregation of APIs a lot easier.
If I could ask maybe one more, just curious on your thoughts on the current status of the graph and their decentralization path, and also like just struggles that they've had. Something that I've been getting all sorts of signals from everywhere, so I'm curious what you think about that.
Yeah, so first and foremost, this is a complementary project to the graph. This does not replace what they are doing. This is strictly an add-on. So the graph is still used, let's say, for historical data. This would just be used for client-side logic.
Yeah, so I was asking more like
yeah.
So that means that you feel confident about the future of the graph, I assume, and so I wanted to ask you about your thoughts on that.
Okay, yeah, so I'm not necessarily sure. I don't know if their model will do well in the long run. I think that there's definitely going to need to be multiple competing models to figure out what the best token economics are for this query problem that they're trying to solve. And so for Web3 API, as far as it's concerned, subgraphs are used as just an add-on to a Web3 API. So if another competing solution comes out, you could just as easily use that in replace of a subgraph.
Right, it just has to use GraphQL, basically.
Yeah, but like you can map those GraphQL queries to something else, like
Sure.
So yeah, like so
okay,
it doesn't have to use anything. Mm-hmm.
Sorry to take up all that time.
Yeah, just don't want to take up more time because I know this probably closes in 2 minutes. You guys want to close out, but if this is interesting, we can come back, or people can reach out individually. I think Jordan and I are both in the DXL Keybase, and yeah, I can like drop our handles here. I don't know if anyone has better ideas for next steps.
Yeah, and thanks again for giving us the floor for so long, and sorry for filibustering if we did, but yeah, this is this is really great, and we're really excited about the collaboration.
What would you guys need from DXDAO in order to kind of do what you're talking about for, like, say, for example, DXSwap?
Yeah, so for right now, what we're doing is we're like signing on different integration partnerships. And what that means is that there's this non-binding MOU document, a memorandum of understanding. It's basically a signaling document that just says that like there is good faith partnership between these two organizations. And so if the DXDAO passed this MOU as a proposal, it would effectively sign it and ratify it, saying that like, the DXDAO is able to advertise and promote Web3 API the same way that Web3 API is able to advertise and promote DXDAO as a partnership. And this partnership is for launch partners, for different integration partners. And so we've been talking to people like, for instance, Gnosis, to be able to get them signed on. So yeah, that's where it is right now, is getting lots of different launch partners.
I think whether or not Gnosis is involved is relevant too, because I mean, the two live products now are built on Gnosis smart contract protocols. So
Yeah, we can keep you updated there. I think we're talking to them pretty soon.
Cool. Dope. All right, thanks, guys.
Yep, thanks. See ya.
Thank you. Later.
I know we're at the hour. I can go another 10 minutes if you guys are down. All I wanted to bring up was just the Airtable that I'm starting to update more with. I don't know if you guys are able to see it, but it's got like marketing tasks, and I'm kind of toying with putting bounties on there so everyone sees like mini projects that everyone's handling, at least in the marketing department. It's mostly stuff by me and Mike. And I'm starting to put bounties on there just to see like if it looks better than Google Docs. So you'll have a place to see like what we're doing. That's sort of it. And I've got Matt Bartlett working on one of them, just putting together all the content pieces that have ever come out in DXDAO and putting them in the categories for each product, and maybe having that as a place for like when we update the website to have all the content pieces for each product. Well, I think it would be useful. Does anybody still have things they'd like to talk about regarding DXSwap?
I think there's still a lot to talk about there, but it's probably better for the product strategy call. Yeah.
All right, guys. Cool. Thanks for coming on. Shall we adjourn this?
Cool.
All right. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
All right. Have a good one.